Welcome back to the Tara Palmeri Show. Today, I woke up to some really disturbing news. I know you all woke up to this as well. Don Lemon, a friend who's actually been a mentor to me in the independent media space, he encouraged me to go independent. He helped me along the way, giving me advice as like, should I get a studio or should I do it from my home? He's been so supportive to me all along the way, introducing me to his audience and just being a really good friend. Actually, he might not even remember this, but when I was a young news assistant, I used to give him his papers while he was anchoring and when he was working at CNN. And then when I got my first on-air job at CNN, he actually he was one of the few big anchors to have me on his show. He was actually the first one to let me sit down with him at the big table in New York, and felt really great. So he's always been super supportive, but that's not the only reason why I'm very deeply upset about Don Lemon now being charged with federal civil rights crimes because he was covering a protest, an anti-ICE protest at a church. And he was arrested today and detained. And these are our First Amendment rights. And it's really pushing the boundaries of journalism, our ability to cover what's happening. It's a threat to independent journalists like myself. Because, without the corporate overlords calling the White House and trying to fix things, this is how you bully people. This is how you silence them. And I think we should all be afraid. I mean, being a journalist, anyone can be a journalist. We shouldn't be stopped. We all have First Amendment rights. So please take a listen to this show. It's actually Don's show being anchored by Katie Phang. It's going on throughout the night until midnight. In tribute to Don. It's all of his friends coming on the show to talk about what we all experienced, why this is so disturbing, and really bringing this out to be a broader discussion about our rights and how this is an infringement on the free press. So take a listen here. Would love to know what you think. Please leave your comments. And of course, subscribe. That's something you can do to help independent media. Follow if you're listening to this on podcasts. And, go to tarapalmeri.com and sign up for my newsletter, The Red Letter. It's how you can support my independent journalism. And I think, just all good energy and wishes for Don Lemon. This is just definitely a step too far. And the White House is already posting memes of him as if this is a joke. Take a listen here.
And right now we're going to bring in Tara Palmeri. It was actually the perfect time to talk about this, right? About the Epstein files. Tara Palmeri, thank you so much for being here. For those of you that are tuning in, I am not Don Lemon. We all know why I'm here, but I am guest filling in for Don and having these amazing panelists hang out and just friends, really. You guys are not panelists. You guys are friends of Don, friends, you guys of the Lemonheads that are here. So Tara, first of all, your thoughts as a journalist, as somebody who's also made the leap to independent media like we've all done lately, to be subjected to being arrested, not just criticism, right? Yeah. But to be arrested for covering something as a journalist?
It's really, really startling, Katie. Covering a protest is like one of the most basic forms of journalism. You're covering a movement. All journalists have had that experience at some point in their career where they covered an uprising or a movement or just a protest. It's like even in journalism school. So to think that just being present would get you arrested is just like extremely disturbing. And it's also, okay, say I was going to interview the Taliban. If you walk into that cave, my friend Steve Schmidt gave me this example, and he's right. If you walk into that cave with the Taliban, are you a collaborator of them now? It's just like, are you, because you're going in to interview? It's really frightening. And, actually Don encouraged me to go independent. And he gave me a lot of advice about what to do and like whether even little things like whether to get a studio or not. And I've really looked to him for advice and, as a mentor throughout all of this. And I think that he handles himself really well. And Don is at his best when he's out of the studio, when he's on the street, when he's showing people what's going on. And like, he's the eyes and ears of what is happening right now in the resistance movement. And so to take him away, they realize how powerful he is right now. They're not going after just anybody. They're going after him because they know that his work is really making an impact and it bothers them. He's always been, Trump has always had an issue with Don Lemon, right? Whether it's his race, his political leanings, being on CNN, he's always made it known he doesn't like Don. But I mean, if you heard Todd Blanche this morning at that, if you want to call it a press
Whatever
conference,
that was, yeah,
and he's asked about Don. He's like, how dare you even ask me about Don Lemon? You arrested a U.S. citizen who was exercising their First Amendment rights, and you don't have an answer for that? A very high-profile U.S. citizen? Like, it's just, what world are we living in right now? It's just insanity.
Well, guess what? We actually have that sound right now. We're going to play it so everybody who's tuning in can understand. This is how Todd Blanche reacted. Let's go and hear that sound now.
I have anything to share about that.
And to follow up on that, do you have a reaction to the arrest of Don Lemon overnight?
Do you have a reaction to what?
To Don Lemon's arrest overnight?
Do I have a reaction to it? I don't know what that means. What are you looking for me to do? Jump up and down? No, I don't have a reaction to it. I don't know that the charges are unsealed yet. So no, I can't. I'm not going to comment on that.
Thank you.
I mean, what a defensive, prickly little bitch. I mean, really?
He's always like that. He's such a little shit.
Well, you know what? But that's not an excuse, Mike, because he's the freaking Deputy Attorney General of the United States. So that's not a professional response.
No, honestly, even calling him the Deputy Attorney General of the United States is an insult because he's actually Donald Trump's personal lawyer. That's who he is.
He's a law lackey. But yeah, Tara, right. I'm sorry, I was cutting you off. You were saying
No. I thought it was incredibly indignant. It was revolting. He's a U.S. citizen. Don is a prominent journalist. He really represents us. I mean, we all are independent journalists right now.
Yep.
And there's no corporate overlords who can make a call to the White House to say, "Oh no, don't pick up Katie off the street. Let's make a deal."
Well, I don't really know if they represent interference in my own profit anyway.
But I know the corporate media doesn't seem to really care that much about their people anymore. But there was at least a time when they would at least negotiate this in some way. But this is like we're all. And not to be dramatic, but I don't think we're safe to go out and cover movements, protests, what's happening on the street if you can just get rounded up. And
they're just indiscriminate. I want to be clear. When I went to Minneapolis, and I just got back 24 hours ago, they were indiscriminately gassing journalists, protesters, children, people, anybody standing on the street. They didn't care who you were. They didn't care if you had press or anything. They were just like, fuck it. We're just going to do it because we don't want to hear from any of you people. I actually think that we should be coming out in more numbers now instead of trying to, temper what we're doing. But I understand, Tara, the whole plan behind this is to chill us from doing stuff, from being able to respond.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're talking about the fact that you have children, and that's why you wouldn't want to go out there. We should have the freedom to be able to document history and what's happening. And it's just, I don't know. I saw Sarah Snyder struggling on the street in CNN. She's a top-notch reporter covering the protest over the weekend. Yeah. She's being gassed. She's like, I've never experienced anything like this. Like, this is a war on the ground. And what the journalists that are out there have been doing. So, like, Katie, thank you for going out there, and everyone else. They are documenting history for us. Like, we are, you go into a war zone and there are a lot of risks, but the risk shouldn't be getting arrested.
Yeah. Dr. Frieda, I'm sorry. I wanted to go back to you about something because I know it's not necessarily specifically your medical kind of space, but I think that you could more than talk about this. I'm actually led to believe from what I've been hearing off the record and stuff like that this really wasn't a Trump thing, that they're making a lot of decisions and not including Trump in this. And I think that could be a reflection of what they think about his ability to be making these types of decisions. I don't think Trump, from what I have been hearing off the record, is saying, yes, go and arrest him, right? Does that make sense? Like, I don't think that that's happening. Like, I think that it's a reflection of what they think about his mental acuity, his ability to be able to be in this decision-making process. Although a lot of people would probably be inclined to believe, Dr. Frieda, that because he's just not there anymore mentally, that they don't. I don't think that they include him in any of this.
Yeah, and there's no way to actually know. But Don and I have spent a lot of time.
His medical records, Dr. Frieda. If we saw his medical records, we would know.
Right. And he keeps telling us he's aced all of the cognitive tests over and over again. But I've spent a lot of time talking with Don and on the show about all of the signs of dementia. Of course, I'm not Donald Trump's doctor. I don't know. But you're right, how he has difficulty with word finding, how even the way that he walks, he meanders in a way that is consistent with someone with cognitive decline, the way that he forgets and can't keep up with his lies at times, quite frankly. He forgets, the people who are in the room. He says things, he has this tangential thought. There are lots of signs of dementia, though I don't know if it's his diagnosis, but I agree. For some of these very well executed diabolical plans, such as arrest, such as killing US citizens, it takes someone with a very high cognitive function, and it really doesn't seem like he has it. And I want to say something to what Tara said, how, you can't be sure if it's safe to go out and protest. When you said that, it's absolutely true, and it's absolutely chilling, because the fear is the point. If journalists start feeling that their lives are in danger, their safety is in danger from going out, then they will no longer cover the protests. And then what happened to Renee Good, what happened to Alex Preddy will be able to happen in the dark, and the incidents will multiply. And so that's why it's so important, even, and I'm in the South. And I wanted to tell Reese when she called it Trump Crow, I always say how my parents are raised in the Jim Crow South. I'm here in the Atlanta area, where somewhere they're in Fulton County trying to taking our election ballots, voter rolls. So I guess instead of just saying that my parents are raised in the Jim Crow South, perhaps I'm being raised in the Trump Crow South. But I just think it's just so important that regardless, we all have to make calculated risk, especially those of us with children. I have three kids as well. But what I don't want to happen is I don't want them to win. I don't want us to be quiet. I don't want the fear to be silencing, because we all know, we've read 1984, we've seen the movies, we've seen history, and history is now the present unless we do something to act against it.
That's so true. Tara, I just wanted to kind of pull on a small thread here. A lot of people are saying that the Don Lemon arrest and the arrest of Georgia Fort and others is a distraction from the Epstein files. 3 million plus docs got dropped right now, although they're never dropped in a way that's particularly easy to read. But some of the stuff that we've been kind of skimming through as we've been dealing with the fallout of Don's arrest has been really egregiously horrible, Tara. We knew there was some bad shit out there, but this has been pretty bad. Just kind of your top line thoughts. I know you haven't had the chance to read 3.3 million documents, obviously. Although you are a superwoman, so I wouldn't be surprised. But kind of your top line thoughts, though, about the fact that this is now the next big tranche of docs that have been released.
The timing is interesting. It's always a Friday, right? That's when they want to take out the trash. Then you add in the unjust arrest of a journalist. And then, of course, they just put out the charges 15 minutes ago as we're going of Don's charges, as we're going through the actual documents. It's interesting how the Daily Mail has a leak about Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, and it claims that Bill had gotten some sort of STD that Epstein knew about, and that he was trying to give Melinda give her antibiotics without her knowing about it. And so it's so obvious that they are strategically leaking in advance to obfuscate what is damning about President Trump, because there are some really damning tips that were called in. Now they're just tips, and if this administration, this Justice Department, wanted to do the right thing, they would actually follow up on all these tips and run real investigations, but they refuse to. Instead, Todd Blanche likes to say, I want to get the exact quote, because it was just so horrific to me that he would just say, there are no men, we have no evidence. Well, how would you know if you don't run an actual investigation, when so many of these survivors have said that they were assaulted and sexually abused by other men outside of Jeffrey Epstein? Because Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell it's not just them that get 1,000 victims, and many men have had civil lawsuits filed against them by survivors. And we know from Ghislaine Maxwell herself that 23 people signed settlements with the government. So who are those people, and why don't we know more about them? But Todd said, no, you're not going to learn anything about it. Don't worry. I don't know if there are men that abused women. That is what the Deputy Attorney General said. That is completely disregarding tips that have been called in, testimony from the survivors, their depositions, civil lawsuits, settlements that have been made. They are just not taking this seriously at all. And, they're strategically leaking. So look at that shiny object. Of course, a story about an STD among the richest man in the world is something that everyone's going to be buzzing about. The first time it was all pictures of Bill Clinton with, Epstein's girls and, in a hot tub. So it's like, this time it's Bill Gates. But they're doing it strategically. This is about telling a story. This isn't about getting to the truth. This is about a narrative. And, every single step of the way, especially now that survivors know this is the last tranche and they're not getting anything else, it's extremely heartbreaking to them. This is not what they wanted. They wanted the release of the Epstein files so that they could break the non-disclosure agreement, so that they could feel free to talk about the abuse that they were under, so that they could speak openly about the men that abused them. They wanted that safety of the Justice Department having their back. The Justice Department is basically like, see no evil, hear no evil. But here's some documents that are just a bunch of tips.
Yeah. And this is
not to follow and find out if they're real. Because
and
we
these
don't
are the
want
people that are supposed to have seen it all, because what gets released publicly is redacted, right? And these are supposed to be the people like Todd Blanche and others that have seen it all. Tara Palmeri, I know we have to let you go. Thank you so much for being here. But like we've been saying, for those that have been tuning in, we are doing this. I am guest hosting for Don Lemon. We are doing this to show our support and love for Don, but also for independent journalists. So not only like and subscribe, please, for Don Lemon's show, but Tara, where can people find you and subscribe and support you, please?
Thank you. I'm at the Red Letter on Substack. You can go there, subscribe. That's a great way to keep me going. And I'm on YouTube too, at Tara Palmeri. And appreciate all of your support. And let's get Don out of here and show that this independent media movement cannot be stopped. This is not. Yeah. Thank you guys for what you're doing too. I'm really in awe of you.
So good to see you. Thank you so much.
That was another episode of the Tara Palmeri Show. As I said before, you can support by just subscribing, following, sharing it with your friends. You can become a paid subscriber and support my independent journalism and get my exclusives straight to your inbox. You can go to tarapalmeri.com and you can get my newsletter, The Red Letter, straight to your inbox with all of my exclusive reporting. I just talked to Don about a week ago, and he seemed pretty rattled by it all. I can only imagine how he's feeling now. So of course, if there is any ways to support Don, go to his channel, subscribe, follow him wherever he is. It's a way to boost awareness. He can't be silenced. We can't be silenced. I want to thank my producer, Eric Abinate. I want to thank Abby Baker, who does my research and social media. I want to thank Adam Stewart, who does the graphics, and Dan Rosen, my manager.